You said you served the LIBERIA, LNTG2 as the civil society representative during the time. Were there any other time you served the transitional government besides this time?
Yes.
In which position?
I was made member of the same reconciliation in those administration, not those, or Chancellor's administration. But I left that position because things of substance were not discussed to help me and my people. So I left.
Did you serve the transitional government along with Isaac Musa?
Musa.
That is LNTG3?
I cannot remember.
Okay.
Maybe.
I want us to go back. After Toba was executed, and then the tribunal was set up, the former ministers were supposed to be put on trial. What can you tell us about this?
The former government officials' trial was done by the TRC itself. Civilians, according to the best of my knowledge, were not included. At least I was included.
Thank you very much for coming to the commission and throw lights on our past.
Mr. Witness, Honorable Quiah, I want to say thank you for appearing before the TRC, and that God gave you the strength to live, to tell your story. You said you were judged and put in trouble, not for what you did, Oscar Quiah did, but for what people thought you did. Today, you have appeared before the TRC. We've listened to your discourse, to your petition, and your plea for forgiveness by prostrating before the TRC, the nation, and God. I pray that the TRC, in making a recommendation concerning you and what judgment you deserve, will really give you the judgment, and history will give you what you deserve. Now, you may be considered a father of history in the nation of Liberia. We can see age has its own time, and many other factors and circumstances have the time for everything. We just want to, in what you said, one statement, and this is what we're supposed to clear of the myth. I think it was lab lingua and also time. You said that the two-week party began in 1847. That was not true. E.J. Roy was the first standard bearer of the two-week party. And history will show, I think that was 1869, 1870. I think now you agree with me.
Thank you.
Because there were other parties before the two-week party, the Reformation Party, the other kind of parties.
Sure.
So as a father of history, we can clarify that.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you remember that.
Thank you. Sure.
Also, you cleared a myth about Quiah, that Quiah was not a relative of yours.
No.
Because going in the southeast, we heard a lot of actions that were committed by Quiah. So by you now clearing that up, it could really erase the myth that Quiah was your brother and perhaps doing all those things to facilitate you politically.
No.
Thank you, and may history be your judge.
Thank you.
No other question.
Thank you, Mr. Quiah,
Thank you.
for coming to the TRC today and for your presentation to us. I have few questions,
Please.
and one starts with the positions you held in the various government and the dates that you held those positions. You said you worked with most of the government, the different forms of government that came into power, and you held different positions. Could you please name those positions you held, and at what time you held those positions?
I said I was Minister of Internal Affairs under Samuel Doe. I was again Minister of Post and Telecommunications under Samuel Doe. I was Director General of Civil Service under Samuel Doe. I was Managing Director of Liberian Telecommunications Corporation under Samuel Doe. Yeah.
So all the positions were held during the Doe era.
Sure.
Okay. You said you got your education both in Liberia and the States. I want to know, you traveled to the States on a scholarship or was it on your own?
I went to the States on my own.
So all your time there, you supported yourself through school there.
I supported myself throughout my school years.
During your explanation about coming back to Liberia, you said at that time coming to Liberia was very fearful. What made it fearful? Could you please throw light on some of the incidents that you can recall that made it very fearful?
I am talking about Liberia 1975, 76, and for a man not speaking in favor of, on the side of the ruling party was fearful.
How?
What about how? Because I wasn't for the ruling party, I wasn't speaking for the ruling party, so it was fearful.
So what did they do to people during that time who spoke against them?
Member, please, you know all that one, don't ask me.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know too. Yeah. No, I don't know.
You said during the time before the arrest riot.
When?
Before the arrest riot,
Yeah.
when the rice price was increased by the president, 3 of you went there and engaged him and presented a better solution to the problem of the rice increase. What was that solution?
The solution was this. Rice is a food for Liberians, staple food for Liberians. You want to reduce the price of rice, increase the price of cigarettes, increase the price of drinks. That price can be given to other commodities. Spread it. The price will automatically fall. Spread that price. Rice for Liberia is life. Thank you.
And so at that time you did not consider cigarette as life to other people, only rice.
No, I consider cigarette as killing.
Okay. The rice riot, during your explanation, you call a parade. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. What was the difference there between a parade and a riot?
A riot, people going in the street, carrying rocks, carrying guns, carrying cutlasses.
That was riot.
The riot. Parade is peaceful march. No weapon.
So it's not a protest. A parade is not a protest.
You're saying two things about protest and riot. Are they the same?
I'm asking, first I asked about parade and riot. You said a parade.
Sorry, 1 minute. Audience, please, we've told you earlier, you have to give chance to the interaction so that we can get the truth out. But when you laugh, sometimes we can get it clear. Please, thank you very much.
Here's the question.
Maybe some people feel that what we are asking are not important to the process here. But every word, everything that is spoken here is important to the TRC process. And so if we do not understand what the person is saying, we will ask.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so you said a riot is one that you use cutlasses, rock, and whatnot to participate in.
A riot.
But then a parade is a peaceful
march.
And then I ask, a parade is not a protest?
Protest, yes, it is.
It is a protest?
Yes.
But it's different from a riot?
It's different.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Somehow about the Liberian course during your experience, your explanation.
Liberian what?
The Liberian course. During one of your CAUSE, the Liberian course.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted for you to explain the Liberian cause.
The Liberian cause,
What you saw as Liberian cause.
Liberian cause is the cause that will unite all of us. The cause we are speaking of, is the cause to unite all of us as people of one country. That's the Liberian cause.
During the rice riot, or after the rice riot, you said that President Talbot took blame for what happened during that riot.
I didn't get you.
You said that President Talbot took the blame for what happened during the rice riot.
Yeah.
Okay, was there any board or so set up to investigate what happened?
Yes.
Could you please tell us the name of that board and whether there was an official report that came out of that inquiry?
I think that inquiry was headed by Dr. Sawyer. But I don't have the copy now of what comes out of it. But it was Sawyer's, well, board was set up.
Dr. Sawyer. Okay, do you know what was the result of the inquiry?
The result was that the government was wrong. The board charged government for wrongdoing.
Can you name some of the other people that were part of the inquiry board, apart from Dr. Sawyer?
I don't know them.
Okay. You said you went to Dorobo to talk to the people about the progressive. Am I right?
True.
Okay. And you went to talk to them about some of the inequalities that were happening in the country.
Yes.
Could you please tell us some of the things that were happening here? I've come back to that because we need to know.
Some of the things that were happening, I'll give you the example of this woman, the poor woman, who stripped herself naked at the time. Do you believe that something terrible was happening that made this woman to strip herself naked open? Want me to recount those things that happened? Thank you. Thank you, really.
I don't know if I got an answer, but thank you anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, it's okay, thank you. Mr. Witness, thank you very much for short questions for you. When PAL planned the demonstration that is now popularly known as the April 14, 1979 rice riot, please tell us that your organization then at any time contemplate a showdown with the government, and therefore guns or arms were distributed to some of the demonstrators secretly that others didn't know of. Can you clarify?
I tell you plainly, fairly, squarely, thou never distribute a knife, nor a gun to anybody. knife, guns, never.
At the time of the military coup in 1980, and when 13 government officials were executed on April 22nd, 1980, it is alleged, or at least it's been rumored, that there was a list circulating with about 100 persons on that list, including the 13 officials, and most of those persons were officials of government and some relatives of the late president and some of his officials. Can you comment on this, please?
I don't know about your list. Honestly, I don't know about the list.
So you never heard about any list?
No. 100 people listed. You're the first one telling me. I don't know about the list. Yeah.
This is a follow-up question to a question that one of my colleagues asked earlier. You served under the PRC government from 1980 to 1984, I believe. During this time, did you see any conflict in your belief and in your belief as an advocate of nonviolence and good governance, and your then participation at the time in a government that had by then established itself as a despotic government? Did you see any conflict there?
Yes, I saw conflict.
Can you explain briefly?
The conflict was, there was the military way of doing things, different from the civilian way of doing things. They thought to do things differently than we thought. That's why we couldn't work for long.
You were a senior member of the government at the time, serving as Minister of Rural Development and Urban Reconstruction. Did the PRC government, headed by the late President Samuel Doe, did it consult with you and other civilians who were in the government, civilian ministers who obviously had the education and had the experience? Did they consult with you, and what would be some of the issues that they consult, and how did you advise them?
You see, the PRC government was a military government. The PRC government was a military government. So most decisions were made by the military officials of that government, not the civilians.
After the coup, my memory is not too clear. After the coup, did civilian ministers in the government receive commission as military personnel by the PRC?
Commission?
Yes, were they commissioned as military personnel during the after the coup, the early days of the coup? Okay, my question is leading to, I'm just trying to understand, and for the sake of our process, to provide clarification on how could, not you personally, but when I say you, I mean, plural, civilians in the government holding high positions like ministers and ambassadors, how could you not know, or how could you not have been consulted on important state matters? So were you just there figuratively?
I won't say we're just there figuratively, but high decisions were made by military people in the government, because it was military government.
In view of your vast experience in Liberia's political struggle, what would you say has been your most defining moment, and what would you say has been your most regrettable?
My most regrettable moment was that the diversity between the military and the civilian. We could not achieve the objectives we have set for ourselves. That's my regret. But then, the moment that gave me courage, that I'm satisfied over, was that the Liberian government became public to the Liberian people. It was no more few people saying it. It was Liberians saying it from all over the country.
Mr. Witness, there are various views on the rice riot. Some people hold the view that it wasn't necessary following the chaos that erupted. Some people feel it was necessary. It brought some issues into question and at the forefront or highlighted some issues. You, as the Secretary General of PAD at the time and one of those who organized the rice riot, do you think, given the belligerent attitude, according to you, of the Toba government at the time, they were not going to back out, even when Mr. Abapo tried to negotiate between the both groups? Since the Toba government was stubborn, do you think that maybe for the sake of preventing what happened, maybe you could have been the one to gracefully buy out? Do you think it would have saved the situation? Do you have?
I could not have bowed out. We're talking about people food, and government had the ability to have taken care of that food problem. Government didn't see it that way. So I was happy that I pushed it to the dead end.
Follow-up question, do you think, sensing the tension in the air, the days preceding the rice riot, do you think you could have called off the riot and the demonstration, pardon me, and then continue to dialogue or negotiate with the government? Do you think it was possible?
Don't you see the government had a greater role to play in this? Government had all the chances, all the options to have dealt with its own people food, then also Quiah and Bacchus Matthews. So the body of proof was mostly on the government.
This is a follow-up question because I didn't clearly hear your response at the time. My colleague asked you about your role as Minister of Rural Development and Urban Reconstruction, and I think he was trying to compare and contrast whether there was any change from the Toba government at the time and when all of you came into government. Now my question here exactly is, can you, if you can remember, name any specific development that went to rural Liberia during that time, and also any specific challenges that you faced as Minister of Rural Development that would have prevented you doing some of the things that you wanted to do?
Let's look at the infrastructure. Under some of those 10 years, most of the buildings that are standing today, that even government would not touch, were built by Samuel Doe. 10 years. If those buildings had been completed, government would have had something to stand on to foster more development for the country. But because they were that of Samuel Doe, they were rejected.
Mr. Quiah,
Yes.
did the government of Samuel Doe consult with civilian ministers before executing the 13 government officials?
I said it before, I will say it again. I said no. No. Certainly, seriously. I'm saying it, no.
What was your reaction following those executions? Did you object? Did you go to Mr. Doe and say this is not what we do in a civilized world?
I couldn't do that.
Why not?
Do that. But I tell you, seriously, on a serious note, the day of the execution, I was coming from lunch that very day. I saw people in the street. Then I went in my house for lunch. My wife, everybody was running outside. I said, what happened? She said, they are executing people today. I said, who executing people? I said, nobody executing anybody. And I met it, I didn't know. So I argued with my wife. So this was not a civilian plan. It was not consulted with the civilian.
Do you have any more questions? Thank you very much. I think I will rest my questioning for now, but I just wanted to leave you with just a brief comment. You came here and you openly apologized in a very profound, remarkable way, I think, for whatever you think you might have done to the country or to anybody. And I just wanted to say that they say great men have great faults, but greater men, it takes greater men to even say sorry. So hopefully people will understand your position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Invitation, throwing some light on events, incidents in our history. I'd like to ask you, to the best of your certain knowledge, what do you know about the information of LIBERIA? Are you in any way connected to its formation or a part of its leadership?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. No.
Now you talk about your experience during the rise of April 14. Let me ask, in your opinion, what were those factors you think that militated against the call by Omen Port to call off the demonstration? Was there a willingness on the part of the PAL leadership to call off the demonstration if the government had responded to the mediation efforts by Mr. Port?
Certainly, if government is given the chance, was willingness on the part of PAL's leadership.
Where were you on the morning of April 14, 1979?
April 14, when I saw the first gun shooting, I left. I left.
How can you describe the scene of PAL headquarters, the situation in town on the night before the demonstration. Demonstration was on Saturday, but on Friday. How can you describe what was happening?
What happened on April 13 was PAL people were mobilizing. So it was during the meetings of mobilization to prepare for April 14.
Now, you mentioned the late Gabriel Bacchus Matthews and your imprisonment prior to the coup. The history recalls that there were mass arrests of PAL members following what was called an aborted midnight march to the executive mansion. Were you a part of that? And can you throw some light on what were the circumstances that led to that?
Yes, I was part of that. I was arrested.
Can you say what was the motivation for a late night march? Rather, as opposed
The midnight march was intended for that government would not have stopped us because government was prepared to even come to our headquarters to stop us, not to step out. So we took that night to be outside, that by the time day breaks, we will have been here.
So, in the aftermath of that, and government response, personally, how were you treated by the...
By the government?
Yes.
But
Following your arrest. Can you describe the conditions of your arrest and those of your other colleagues?
this was a time Tobo vowed to be tough and mean and rough. So it was really terrible.
There was some time when you were imprisoned. Prior to that time, during the administration of Tolbert at the post docket, and there was also a time when you were imprisoned at the post docket during the administration of Doe, the late President Doe. How would you compare conditions during that time and subsequently during Doe?
They were the same condition, the post docket. The post docket.
Are you saying the conditions were the same prior, during the time?
Certainly they were the same. They were the same. Post docket hasn't changed. Unless for now, if it did, good.
Now, you served in the Doe government, I would suppose up to the outbreak of the war.
Yes.
Now, there was a time when it was reported in the media that the Doe government had purchased a plane, an executive plane, whose arrangements, I suppose, were spearheaded by Mr. Shaw and Mr. Scott, Mr. Jenkins Scott. But subsequently, the plane mysteriously disappeared. Do you have any idea
No, I don't.
as to what may have happened to that purchase? What were the terms of that purchase?
No, honestly, I don't know. I don't know.
Now, how would you describe the general situation of human rights during the time of Doe, President Doe, during his tenure? How would you generally describe human rights conditions?
Doe, as you know, as I know, was a military person. But being a military person, things were still better on a Doe. Certainly. Even a military person, things were better on a Samuel Doe.
Are you saying this in terms of respect for human rights and all of that?
First, compare the two. Military leader, civilian president. Compare the two. Doe was a military person. Thurber was a civilian president, a president of the Baptist World Alliance. Compare the two.
Now, there was a time when, after the outbreak of the Civil War in 1990, there were reports that you went to Sino. Can you confirm that?
Yes. I went to Sino.
And when the MPFL overran much of the country, you were still in Sino.
I was in Sino.
And it was not until 1997, 96, or 7 that you
1996.
that you returned to Monrovia.
Yeah.
Can you describe life for you, how it was during the time you were in Sino, being searched for by the MPFL or by by the MPFL?
Life in what respect?
Daily life, your existence, how you survived.
Okay. Life was terrible. I used to send my boys to even steal cassava for me to eat. Then my boys around me were scaring people off their farms, so they would dig cassava for me to eat. So I lived on the mercy of God alone.
Were you in touch with what was happening in Monrovia?
What?
Were you in touch with developments going on in the rest of the country?
No. There was no media of communication between me and Monrovia. No.
Did you have access to radio, for example?
Radio?
Yes.
Oh yes, I had my radio. I had my radio throughout the way. So I was in communication constantly with what was happening in Monrovia.
To the best of your knowledge, were there any reprisals that were carried out on account of your presence in Sino and not being able to be located by those who were searching for you at the time?
I didn't get you.
To the best of your knowledge, were there any reprisals carried out against those who were perceived to have been hiding you?
Yes. Yes, there was.
Can you give us any instances of such?
It came to a point, there was what they call Quiah attack. On Quiah's attack, scores of my tribesmen were killed. One of my sisters was shot in the stomach. The other one was shot in the arm. My auntie was killed with several close family members.
Finally, can you tell us, to the best of your certain knowledge, who were those like yourself who were the founding members of the Progressive Alliance of Liberia?
Gabriel Barcus Matthews, Samuel P. Jackson, Henry Elliott, Norman Cole.
With the exception of Mr. Matthews, are any of the others still alive today?
I think so. Those who are alive, they are in the States.
Did you have any, as an organization, did you have any official relationships or sister relationships to the movement of justice in Africa? And if so, can you describe the nature of those relationships?
No.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Testing. So Quiah, thank you very much for sharing with us your submission and comments with regards to the time period of our investigation. I'm grateful that you can please sit and listen and allow us to ask you questions on these issues. We appreciate it. My first question would be for you to please tell me a little bit about the core goal of PAL regarding the revolution. What did they foresee as the root cause of Liberians' problem, and what was their medicine or solution to it, their goal and objective with regards to non-violent revolutionary change? As succinct as possible.
What we saw, and perhaps seeing today, the bulk of the people of Liberia were excluded from the circle where decisions were made for the country.
Okay. And so that's the root cause. Now the question is, what was your agenda, your goal with PAL? What did you see as the way to resolve that unjust situation? Change the government or what? I don't know.
Not change government, change attitude.
Change attitude of the leaders of the government.
Yes.
Okay, if that was the goal, then it meant the whole movement was to come here to Liberia to work in a positive, non-violent way to change the attitudes and minds and character of our leaders so that they could become more objective, more embracing, and more open to a equitable society, right?
Precisely.
Okay, but yet, just one side issue I noticed just now, the way in which you carried out this approach. For example, we talk about the aggressive way in which you are confronted the government, in the sense of, for example, even marching on to the mansion so boldly at night, as compared to a way of dealing with them by trying to reach out to their hearts and minds and see whether change could be brought about. Did you feel that that was a hopeless cause and the only way was just to change their minds and attitudes by pushing them in a certain way, using the power of the people? Or did you make an attempt in any other way?
Let me say this. Government at the time did not even show willingness, sincere, genuine willingness to participate with us to discuss the problems of the country. They call us noise makers. We were not the equals.
Okay. So that include, I assume, the legislature writing petitions to them, seeking other legal redress for change. That all was out of it?
It was part of it.
It was out of it?
Part of it.
Oh, you tried that in essence?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Another thing. Who, in your opinion, would be the one Liberian president who brought forth the facilitation of multi-party system in Liberia after, let's say, the 100-year rule of the Truick Party? Who would be the father of that multi-partyism in Liberia? Who allowed...
Gabriel Bacchus Matthews.
No, I mean government leader. I'm not talking about...
Government leader?
Yeah, somebody trying to bring a change.
Government
but
leader?
somebody in the system who willingly allowed it to happen.
I must be frank. I must be sincere. I don't really see that now.
Huh?
I don't see it.
You don't what? Sorry.
No.
Oh, yeah, you don't know of any Liberian president or leader who allowed a multi-party system to exist under their regime. You don't see that. You don't know
up to this level.
Huh?
Up to this point.
Okay.
Are you saying up to this point?
Yeah, anytime.
I think there have been some sincere steps made by this present administration. I must confess.
So then it would be this government, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, you did say that you and others felt that the cause of the revolution was so strong and necessary that bloodshed was no problem. You gave us an example where your own relatives wrote you and appealed to you to change the strategy, but you felt no, you had to go forward anyway. And then even after the rice riot, you saw 100 people or more die, but you still felt you had to go forward even if Liberia was destroyed, no problem. Do you still feel that that is a reality today? That way. Oh, sorry, maybe I misunderstood. That way originally. Killing Liberians. What the Liberian cause? Not the purpose of our revolution. Our revolution has been and continues to be peaceful. So I won't say killing Liberians was no problem to me. I won't say that. I never acted that way. Okay, no, maybe I didn't phrase it correctly. I know your cause was non-violent, but in applying a particular cause, you see a reaction. And if that reaction brings death and destruction, does one continue that cause knowing that more and greater death and destruction will come, or does one re-strategize? So that's what I mean. How did you respond after the rice riot to the year 1980, during that 1 year period? What was your movement's response to ensure a non-repetition, especially after that government had already been tentatively indicted by the commissioner's report, the inquiry report? So how did you work in that positive way instead of continuing to push in that negative way? There were two ways. Government before the resources available to act, before the means available to act, did not contribute to this process. To say yes, we government do this. Young men, let's do this way. What much of it? So the fact that the government did not humble in a sense to your will, when is the word humble? It means when you use the word humble, it's not humble. Okay, well, could you rephrase it for me? Didn't succumb to that. The government was not willing. I use the word willing, they're humble. Yes, please. Okay, because you're humble. The reason I'm making this statement, normally in democracy, the reason you make the humble word. Yes. The reason I make it, in a democracy, the people have the right to change a government at any time. Their constitution, by a vote of non-confidence or impeachment or whatever. So when I say humble, meaning why didn't that method work? Why was it the method of just continuously confronting that government, knowing that they were not willing hindsight, do you believe that the social injustice beyond ethnic divide could have been resolved in another way without the violent method that our nation applied? Like in hindsight, as you look back, because I saw you apologizing just now, so I was concerned.
Sure. You see, if the two groups were sincere in dealing with the problems, the crisis, sincerity is the key word. Both sides must be sincere and be committed and work towards it. Success is sure.
Okay, and another question. Considering the way in which our revolutionary period developed from the Tariq Party situation, a coup leading to a military government, then leading to a new constitution and a transition to a second republic as a democratic government, causing again another revolution to destroy that one and bring in another third republic, and then causing to another revolution to destroy that. Considering this kind of pattern of continuous struggle and revolution, how do you foresee that we could have stopped all of this in the past? Could there have been any mechanism to prevent that domino effect as you look back in your own history with your own knowledge and understanding of political science, etc.?
So, what I've been saying today, what I've been saying before, I've said today, the attitude of our
Attitudes. So basically, we need attitudinal and sincerity changes, meaning we need a character reformation, a revolution, almost like a spiritual one in a sense. Next. You mentioned that there was a statement written by your group. Maybe I make a mistake, but I'll just say what I heard, and then you can correct me. The statement was written somehow by your group appealing to others while you all were in prison. You mentioned a potential person who was going to break the writers of that was and others who were called to assist in preparing that statement. Do you mind telling what did that statement exactly say? Because I heard you something like saying that a new government is something, but could you give me more clearly what that statement really said?
The statement was short, very short, but to the point. The statement announced the change of government.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means while you all were in government, you already had rallied a public statement to be transferred throughout the country to state that a coup had taken place, in a sense. Because a change of government only by voting or democratic process is legal. Anything other than that would be considered a type of indirect coup. So is that what that statement was really saying, in a sense?
In France, it happened.
Okay, it happened. Okay, then you did say that you all went to the American embassy to tell them about this reality, that a change has already taken place, even though you were the prisoners, you were in prison. And they said they didn't do anything, or they said to come back next time. Then you said you went to the Russian embassy and gave them the same statement, and they in turn said they would help. Okay, but then you went back to the American embassy to tell them that you went to the Russian embassy, and they now said, oh no, you don't have to do that. So already something is there in the mansion to help prepare for this. So the feeling I'm getting for that is that somehow while you were in prison, this message that you're sent out to the world to say you staged an indirect coup was already in mechanism of manifestation, and America knew about that when they gave you the hint that something is in place. So are we to understand all of these things from your statement?
If they did so, maybe.
I'm just trying to rephrase what I heard. Sure. Okay, so that is correct then. You don't deny any of those things.
It's correct.
Okay, thank you. Next. Considering that the whole political revolutionary strategy has not resolved the problem of either the divides amongst our people, the marginalization, etc., but has only led to a change of leadership with relative qualitative change of leadership style. what's the core lesson now we've learned from all this killing and destruction? Because you just said to us, it's the attitude, no change, and character that needs to really bring about a growth and development in our country. But yet we've used an external method of just bloodshed, and we've got nothing but changing of leaders who in turn ended up becoming sources of a new problem. So what can we all learn from this? In your professional opinion, what would you recommend to us? Because TRC is mandated now to look back into all of this and recommend to this country how we can go forth to rebuild and protect this country from such events ever happening again for our children and children's children's children. So can you help me in giving a succinct understanding of that point? And what do you recommend that we should put in for this change?
What I'm saying today, what I've been saying before, is all Liberian people, the power there is, the Liberian masses, the Liberian people in general, must all be part and parcel of anything that has to do with the improvement, the development of Liberia and Liberians. I still say that.
So you keep finding as a result of all of this is that though this may have been destructive, we still need to learn how to make the people a part of the governance process.
Sure.
Meaning we need to actualize a true democracy.
That's the only way.
Okay, and you don't know the exact way, but at least you know that has to be done.
Yes.
That's your lesson learned.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we're looking from the viewpoint of justice for this country. Now, we can see three levels of people involved in the process of revolutionary destruction, breaking of human rights violations, and all these things that have brought our nation into a failed state today. Those who were the visionaries and thinkers behind the process, and the funders and financiers of the process. Those who were the military implementing wing of the process as leaders and commanders. And number three, the foot soldiers who carried out the actual field-to-field killing and destruction. As we look at all of these three types of people, we want to really look for justice and prevention and reconciliation. How would you distribute responsibility amongst them? If we had a bag of responsibility that you go to 100 marbles, how many marbles would you give to the people who did the visionary planning and provided the funding for this process to be here to take place in a nation that was previously known as a peaceful, non-violent type nation? As compared to how much would you give to those who were the military commanders of the various revolutionary groups and then, masterminding the actual fighting, etc. And then how many marbles would you give for responsibility to those foot soldiers, kids and children who were just brainwashed, destroyed to come and kill our people? How would you distribute it?
Those who are seeking a peaceful life. Those who are seeking a peaceful life. Because anything that calls for violence, violence begets violence. Violence doesn't help anybody. It may solve a problem tentatively. But to solve a problem totally and heal the wounds, it has to be peaceful, not violent.
But that didn't answer my question. I'm talking about the military reality. Somebody had to provide guns for those soldiers willing to march and kill. There was many statements given. Somebody had to provide guns to tailors, Johnson's group, etc. So somebody had to mastermind that whole vision and plan of action. So we're talking about how to distribute responsibility to these three groups of people. You're right, the peaceful, non-violent approach
everybody.
Okay, so it's time to summarize that you believe we should share the blame equally. All of them. So those who visionized the process and financed it, those who militarily carried it out, and the foot soldiers should get 33%, 33%, 33%. Thank you. So I understand your work. And last, I noticed you made a statement about this rice riot issue and that the price going up was not good because it didn't affect the common people. Well, the common people didn't cheap, simple rice. But did you ever consider that in a nation where the staple food is rice and the people, the nation cannot produce rice at all, and we're going through an economic slum where at a time in history we consider the nation with the highest growth rate in the world, but yet such poverty and ignorance that there could have been a change of strategy on the part of the president to see how he could make rice price go up so that the people who were the common producers of the rice could be empowered economically and therefore improve their long-term position. Did that thought ever come across those who were planning this rice riot, stopping as compared to putting the price of cigarettes higher and the price of so-called other commodities like liquor higher as an alternative solution?
Was the price of food, rice, to achieve something better? You know how much you've been destroyed doing that to get something better. So the price of rice up.
I see.
Yeah.
So your concern is that the idea of give a man a fishing rod as compared to giving him fish when he's hungry is better to just keep giving that guy fish and don't think about the fishing rod.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
All right.
Please understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand.
You know yourself. You know yourself. Today, rice is into categories. From $30, $35. What I'm saying, government can share the responsibility of the cost of rice
For the sake of its citizens.
Okay.
Government can do that if it's willing.
Okay, thank you. I think I understand. Thank you very much for your patience in dealing with our questions.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, after hearing these questions and answers, can I ask the witness a few questions?
No.
Yes, after what you said, certain clarification, because we're writing, and you may not have the opportunity to come back. And people might be saying things that, we have on record or so, and just for you to clarify it, especially being the founder of PAL, and is first Secretary General, right?
Sure.
Yes. We see you all as young first visionaries with vision. Then we see you, from what you said, being actors, participants, and now as we put you with contemporary, father of contemporary Liberian history, we want certain things clear, to at least to eliminate the myth.
Sure.
Because you see here, like they asked the question for your relationship with the formation of LPC, and the LPC, you could say no. That was a myth because they say you and Bole from the Sin Sapo tribe. Now, another myth. In fact, Honorable Quiah, right in this hall, right after the April 14, 1979 rice riot, if we look in William R. Tauber's speeches, and it can be found A Time for Change, he delivered right here in May, perhaps May 15 or May 10 or 15, a speech on the rice riot. And in that speech, he even called upon the Liberians, that were 1979, that the best way forward was to unite. So we can ask people to read that speech, because I've quoted it sometimes. And today, August 5th, 2008, you have said, in order for us to unite and for a change, because it's in his book, he talked for a time for change, the attitude of the Liberian people, for there to be changed the attitude. So we want to take that, of course. I gave the credit to the Minister of Information, but nothing is original. It's just that somebody might pick it up from somewhere and put it there. But at least today in this hall, you've also referred to the attitude of the Liberian people, if there must be change. And looking forward to almost 28 years when you were very young, how you thought, how you reacted, how when you participated, what you did. And now, as you prostrated before, William Aratapa prostrated also. I think you recall. He prostrated before the nation when situation occurred. And your prostration here before the nation to some of us who were there can carry our reflection back. So I hope many of their own volition might take the courage and let pride go to do what you did here today. But again, I want to call your attention to first to ask you, were your group or you any member of ULA, the Union for the Liberians in the Americas?
No.
That were started with Bala them?
No.
Okay, yes. And Oscar, Honorable Quiah, many things they asked you and you couldn't remember. So it cannot look like
selective, not remembering, or let us clarify.
Period of time you got sick, right?
You remember the year? Yes. What year was it? If you can't even remember, can you tell what was your illness? 1996. Yeah, 1996. What happened to you? So you ever for the audience and the nation to clarify to people like what you said, if certain things happen, why you can't remember what happened to you? What was your illness? Because now you're political, uplifting, so what things in this media. What was your illness if you know? I had a stroke. You had a stroke. I affected what parts of your body if you want to see. So it's not to you all who don't understand manipulate, try to get where if you cannot remember certain things. That's what it is. Okay? I think Dr. would talk about this. Yes, okay. Now, I want to draw your attention to someone, whether it's a myth or true. They had here say that, remember the council state, who was the leader of this group. When you serve as the council of state, you're a member of the first chair of the council of state representing civil society. Who was the head? Sakawolo. Milton Sakawolo was the head, and they had political leaders also as the first chairs, right? Can you remember some of them you served with from that time? Wole, just if you refresh your memory if you can. Wole, Taylor. That's one. On the council? Yes. Warren Fracture Heads. Dwight Wole, Charles Taylor. Dwight Wole, Charles Taylor. Okay, those are judicial notice. We can take cognizance of those historical terms, figure, but that's what I wanted when I brought up on the illness, so people can know it was not just selective, not memory, but time and the situation that occurred to you. Do you remember that time? There was some support in the attempted coup in the mansion where Jackson Marley, the 18 camp, President Taylor died when he ran over him, and Nepal lady Campbell Santo Taylor was wounded, just lodged, and one civil demand was the one who rescued Taylor from wherever he went, you remember the incident? I was there that day. Yes. Tell us what happened. Or are you, because you remember they link you with the attempted boom? Did you remember? I went that day. As you saw. Yes. Usually, I report at work at 9 o'clock. Work for the orientations. So, I was there that very morning. That morning, I said, what I guess. Was my guest that very moment. When the shooting started, I had to make way for Dragon's to leave peacefully. And my bodyguard sat on top of me to bring me down from the mushroom. And that's it. Thank you. So, publicly, you have nothing to do with this attempted coup. No. And secondly, with the rice riot and the
Price of rice going up. This thing that Mr. Talbot have for what? Self-sufficiency. You remember what? Mattresses and self-sufficiency.
Sure, I remember that.
Yes. So now, looking back from then now, as it's there, do you think the prime object of putting this, when we went to the United States of America for the hearing, Bishop Warner was asked about that, and he gave what government's view was at that time. But you know, your view, or maybe you're not aware, but that's his view of what government intended, but everybody maybe didn't know. Don't you think the object of, we said that to put the rice price up high for the imported rice, and they will subsidize the farmers with the same amount because government was subsidizing those who were bringing rice in the country. And the object was for self-sufficiency, since it was government policy, to enable the farmers and the grassroots, the people down, to go back to the soil, and they will be able to subsidize them. Were you all aware of that?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. We certainly appreciate your patience and hearing our questions. As things to be corrected, we want to make one correction that after the April 14 incident, the committee or commission set up was not headed by Dr. Sawyer. I think it was the Brunel's commission. And let us see Brunel's opinion. They held that commission. Okay, thank you, sir. The riot of the parade of April 14 occurred in 1979. Can you say what year you returned to the country?
I returned to the country 1976.
1976.
76, yes.
During the formation, operation of BAL, whether in the U.S. or in Liberia, where the government officials at the time sympathetic wars of these Liberians who were there changed with the officials of the current government then.
The only official government I knew.
Was Bacchus Matthews. Because at the time, Bacchus was working with the consulate, Liberian consulate in New York. Or no other government official that I can remember.
There was one other government official, whether in the U.S.
Yeah.
or in Liberia besides
No.
Mr. Matthews,
No,
who expressed solidarity or some form of support with BAL.
no. To the best of my recollection, none that I can remember.
Thank you. 1979 government announced a policy to increase the price of rice. Are you in any way aware of government's rationalization at the time for that increment?
Government says they want to encourage people to produce rice. But was that rationale was not in the people's interest? Because one reason, at the time, Trabant alone was one of the major importers of rice to the country. You all know that. So, to increase the price of rice was not going to benefit the poor masses who were suffering, who needed it. It was going to benefit those who already had.
Was it any information to the leaders of PAL at the time that rice as sold on the local market was being subsidized?
Into the best of my recollection.
Some would say that a midnight march on the residence of a sitting president at the executive mansion was provocative. Will you agree with that description?
To them it was provocative. Yes, to them.
To you?
It wasn't. No.
Precisely 1 year after the riots, in 1980, April 12, there was a military coup. Do you see any natural correlation between the demonstration and the coup?
Yes. Government-owned military people saw what we were seeing and saying. So they forced them into action.
Did that make it easy for members of PAL or the progressive movement at that time to join the military government?
We had no option whether to join or not to join. They freed us. They involved us in the formation of the government. So certainly we agreed, we accepted it.
During your long-term affiliation or membership with the government as an official, a public official, did you get to understand how the coup was staged? Who were the leaders of the coup?
The leader of the coup was Samuel Kanyondo. That was public. The leader of the coup was Samuel Kanyondo.
Is there any explanation of how some member of the PRC earned the name Strong Man?
To Kurumba?
Perhaps.
Yes, to Kurumba.
How did he earn that name?
Well, they saw their friend's performance and they gave him the name Strong Man.
Can you elaborate on the performance?
Elaborate on what?
Can you elaborate on that performance?
I think it's all said.
I come from the background that there's been a lot of public sayings about the coup, that Samuel Doe wasn't the real leader of the coup and Quiah was, and he was gracious in surrendering to Doe because Doe had a higher rank. Anything like that came about?
No. The one name I knew about at the time was Harrison Penny, not Kurumba.
What do you know of Harrison Penny then?
That night they said he was on duty and he opened the way for his colleagues.
Is there any explanation for the unknown soldier?
I don't know.
You were taken directly from prison to the mansion. You met the coup leaders. There are others who have asserted that there were American political advisors on the grounds of the mansion that very day, and there were other military attachés, others from that embassy or somewhere else.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I've said it, I will continue to say it. There were no American advisors, no Russian advisors, no foreign advisors. How much I know?
Reflecting on the past and based upon information or knowledge you have had on operations of the PRC government, was there anything that could have been done to prevent the execution of the 13 officials and the subsequent execution of A.B. Tallwood, who was reportedly adopted from the French embassy or so?
I said that, yes. I said it and I will continue to say it. My own background is not violence. I'm a religious person. So if me executing people for what they did, it wasn't part of me. And I didn't participate in that. If I were involved to make decision, I would advise against it.
Was that a secret operation that members like yourself had no prior knowledge of?
I didn't get you.
We understood you were at your house at the time when the execution was going on.
Yeah.
Even your wife had knowledge when you didn't have.
And why didn't have? None of us had.
Publicly, it became public that the executions were going on and you were told by your wife.
Yes. She clocked him from the street. There was, she got the information.
One last question. Is it true that while in prison, the late Bacchus Matthews wrote a letter of apology to the president, excusing the conduct of part on what has been described as youthful indiscretion?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this stage, on behalf of the Commission, we want to thank you very much for taking up your time to come to this Commission and share all that you know with us. Now that your testimony is over, we also appreciate the show of remorse for whatever your actions may have done to anybody or the nation. We hope that this can signal a positive turn to reconciliation in our country. Before you leave, sir, is there anything you would lastly want to say?
Lastly, I want to say this. We are falling behind many years. Today, you hear Liberia's name outside, you feel sorry for yourself. I spent 4 years in Ghana. They name you a Liberian, you are just a boogeyman. You are somebody who loves war, who loves fighting. Our name is the stigma that is on our name. So, today in this public manner, all of us, whatever your role is, whether small or big role, forgive one another and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may kindly leave now.
Sir.